That should have been enough. So why did that turn into this? Again, because in controlled trials, people can eat a full meal, feel physically full, and still keep eating. Not because they are hungry, because something else is still switched on. Most meals today solve calories, but they don't solve closure. And that's where everything starts slipping. Over the last two videos, we have uncovered something most weight loss advice misses. Cravings and satiety are not opposites. They are two systems constantly interacting inside your body. I am Gina, and in Vital Cook, we look at food as something that shapes behavior quietly, repeatedly, through what you cook and how you eat it every day. There's this moment we don't really talk about usually. We finish eating, and then instead of feeling full, we don't feel done. It feels like something is missing. It's not quite hunger, but it just feels unfinished. And we tend to assume that we must have eaten less. The amount was not right. But that moment isn't random. It follows patterns across kitchens, across routines. And once you see them, you can start building your own around them. But over the last two videos, we have uncovered something we don't usually talk about with regards to weight loss. We talked about cravings and satiety. The thing is, these are not opposites. These are two systems that are constantly interacting with each other inside our body. And to shift this feeling, we just need to take care of four things. We need to understand what keeps our cravings switched on and why some meal it doesn't fill us completely. And what actually turns appetite off for us, and how can we build a pattern that works for us consistently. If we nail these four steps, that is our personalized strategy, all nailed down. And that's what we'll work towards in this video today. This is where things become personalized, because once you identify what is driving your cravings and what is weakening your fullness signals, you can stop guessing. And instead of following generic diet advice, you start building a strategy around your actual appetite system. So one of these systems tracks energy through the hormones like ghrelins and GLP-1s we talked about in the previous videos. And the other system tracks only rewards, the dopamine. What connects them more than anything else is not just what you eat, but how your food was built even before you eat it. It is that you combine the way you prepared it and the way you structured your meals. We identify your dominant craving driver and your dominant satiety weakness. Then we combine the strategies from both, and that becomes your personalized intervention framework. You will notice usually your system has one dominant driver. Identify that, and the system becomes much simpler. That's where weight loss becomes less about a restriction and more of a culinary strategy that naturally shifts your body to regulate those hormones better. Reward-driven cravings are often triggered by highly palatable foods, especially combination of sugars, fats, salt, and convenience. These foods amplify dopamine signaling and can override normal fullness cues. It is to reduce constant reward stimulation while strengthening the foods that keep you full longer. Under stress, the brain shifts towards fast reward and comfort. Sometimes the craving is not for energy, it's just for relief. If stress is driving your appetite, the solution is not just food. The nervous system itself needs regulation before the eating behavior can stabilize. Sleep disruption changes appetite biology directly. Hunger hormones increase, reward sensitivity increases, and food becomes harder to resist. When sleep disruption changes appetite hormones, the strategy becomes biological first. Support sleep, stabilize meal timing, and reduce the nighttime vulnerability window. The brain makes poorer food decisions when mentally depleted, not because you lack discipline, but because the brain prioritizes efficiency under fatigue. The goal here is to reduce friction, because the easier healthy choices become, the less mental energy they require. Sometimes appetite is being activated constantly by the environment itself. Visibility of food, notifications, advertisements, convenience access, the brain responds automatically. So the strategy is to design the environment and the cues around you, not rely on willpower against them all day. When meals close that loop and your environment supports it, you don't fight cravings, you outsmart them. As you know, protein sends the strongest signal to stop eating. It directly lowers hunger hormones and increases satiety signals. Protein is one of the strongest satiety signals in nutrition science. Without enough protein, the hunger loop often reactivates faster. So the strategy here is to make fullness the foundation of the meal, not an afterthought. And fiber supports that by slowing digestion and feeding the gut signals to register fullness. Fullness is not just about calories. Volume, fiber, and food structure all help the body recognize that you have eaten enough. In the satiety video, you have seen that your body needs time to register fullness. The fast foods, the soft ultra-processed food, bypasses that timing. So you finish eating even before your body gets the chance to register the signals of fullness. So you eat more. Sometimes appetite is not stronger. The fullness signals are simply arriving too late. So the strategy becomes slowing the eating process down enough for the biology to catch up. When meals become too irregular or hunger builds too aggressively through the day, the appetite system often rebounds later. The goal here is to have a rhythm and stability of meal timings. And when food is built to hit salt, sugar, and fat together, that hits the dopamine signals. So it trains the reward system and it stays active. Even after the first system signals that yes, we are done. Ultra-processed foods are often designed to bypass fullness signals. So the strategy is not perfection overnight, but gradually rebuilding meals around foods that naturally regulate your appetite better. Now the process becomes simple. Identify your dominant craving driver and your dominant satiety weakness. Then combine the strategy stacks from both. Because sustainable weight management is not about fighting appetite harder. It's all about understanding which systems are driving your appetite and solving the highest leverage problems first. So make food more predictable for your body using the White Cook system. So now that you understand this system, step is to build this into a everyday meal strategy that can quietly manage your cravings in the background without you having to think about it every time you eat. If you need any help doing that, please reach out and I am here to help. Drop in the comments which pathway you are on. Let's map out your plan.